So if you're feeling like you're having a little bit of deja vu, welcome to the club, because the Tampa Bay Lightning are headed back to the Stanley Cup Final again, the third time in 3 years. They're going to have a chance to three-peat as Stanley Cup champion. That would be the first time that has happened since the New York Islanders did it back in the early 80s. A really unprecedented run for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can't say enough about how well they have played. Their resiliency in that series against the Rangers. The Rangers had an opportunity to go up 3-0 in that series. It was right there in their hands, and the Lightning stormed back into the series, tied it up, took the lead the other night, and tonight they get through. They get the big win in Game 6, and they're moving forward. Colorado Avalanche in the West, they've been waiting, they've been resting up. They haven't been to the Stanley Cup Final since 2001, but they have won every time they've been in the Stanley Cup Finals. They've got 2 Stanley Cups under their belt. Back in the day, Raymond Bourque got to raise the cup there, Peter Forsberg, Joe Sakic, all of those amazing, legendary names. Patrick Roy, one of the best goalies ever to play. Really great performances by that team in those years back in 2001, and the first year they were in Colorado in '96. They won the cup when they went that year as well. So some really great history there. These two franchises gonna collide in the Stanley Cup Final here. It's gonna get all kicked off here on Wednesday night. That's June 15th. You can tune in on ABC, ESPN, Plus, Sportsnet, CBC, etc., etc. So check out the schedule there on NHL.com. You don't want to miss out. It's going to be a really crazy series, I think. You've got 2 teams that are coming in. Couldn't play any more different styles. You've got the Tampa Bay Lightning, very steady, very disciplined. They've got amazing goaltending, of course. Vasilevsky, their backstop, and has led them through the playoffs. Steven Stamkos, the captain, always showing up at the right time. They don't have Braden Point back just yet, but they might get him here in the next series. So a really great roster there. Kucherov, name after name for the Lightning. They play really steady, strong on their skates type of hockey, straight line. They've got amazing coaching there from John Cooper, and they have experience like none other at this point, having been through this now 3 times in the last 3 years. Pretty amazing. Colorado's going to come in. They're going to bring their high-flying offense. Nate McKinnon is not the only superstar that you have to deal with on that team, of course. Cale Makar, Gabriel Landeskog, their captain, and Mikko Rantanen brings a lot to the table as well. Some good depth scoring throughout the playoffs from them. We've seen JT Compher show up when they really need him. Really key player, kind of an X factor there. And they're getting some pretty good coaching as well from Eric Bednar. Not to mention, he has some really nice suits that he breaks out throughout the playoffs. So sharply dressed coach there. And they're doing a lot of things right. They took down the Oilers in 4 games, another high-flying offense, and they were able to shut them down with their goaltender on the injured list. Darcy Kuemper had to sit down for a couple of games in that series, and Francouz came in and played really well for them, got a shutout, and led them through to the Stanley Cup Final. So a really interesting setup. We're going to talk a little bit more about the numbers here as we go into this update. Really glad to have you guys along. If you want to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It does help me grow the channel. I do appreciate the support. If you guys want to let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup Final this year? Give me your prediction, maybe the length of the series, who's going to be the MVP, going to win that Conn Smythe trophy, and who's going to take home the Stanley Cup this year. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking, so go ahead, leave a comment for me. And again, I do appreciate the engagement and the support. Let's talk about this year's Stanley Cup Final. I want to break down the numbers just a little bit, talk a little bit about each of the Western and Eastern Conference final series that allowed these teams to move forward to meet each other here in late June. The Avalanche, of course, had that impressive sweep of the Edmonton Oilers in the conference final out west. Edmonton came in high-flying. Connor McDavid had put the team on his shoulders. Evander Kane was scoring a lot of goals, and Leon Draisaitl was a little bit banged up. Turns out he had an issue with his ankle and was playing through that injury. Pretty courageous by him, but nonetheless, lots of people are dealing with injuries this time of year. It's never an excuse, but it is always part of the story. So you hate to see guys like that get banged up and have it, be a detriment to their game. But the Colorado Avalanche also had to deal with their own injuries. They had their backup goaltender in through this series. Darcy Kuemper had gone down to injury himself. And I thought it was a really impressive, resilient way to make it to the Stanley Cup Final. Not only utilizing your backup goaltender, but taking down Connor McDavid, one of the best, if not the best player in the league. And that offense was really clicking. And I thought Colorado did a really good job in that series of being very disciplined and sticking to what had worked for them throughout the first couple of rounds. Really smart play, good coaching, I thought, by Bednar, good adjustments throughout the series. And the Oilers didn't have any answers throughout, and they ended up being swept there in the conference final. Kemper's coming into this series now. He's got a .265 goals against. That's an .897 save percentage. Not too impressive numbers, but he's played pretty steady. And it's good to know now if you need to go back to Francouz for any reason, he's been pretty solid for them, led them through the end of that series and into the Stanley Cup Final. Again, you've got Nazim Kadri out due to injury. He took that hit from Evander Kane in the back, down there in the corner, that dirty play that suspended Evander Kane. And he had to have surgery on his thumb, so going to be interesting to see if he can get into the series at some point. He had 14 points so far through the playoffs. He had been a big difference maker, a really physical player, one of those guys that you really want on your team come playoff time. 6 goals and 8 assists, really impressive so far through the playoffs. So it's going to hurt to not have him in the lineup, but he might be able to get back in. Of course, you've got Nate McKinnon, the high-flying superstar for the Avalanche. He's got 11 goals so far in the playoffs. He's put them on his shoulders as well. He's scored really timely goals. He's played pretty disciplined, effective hockey, and he's driving to the net. He's making people around him better, and that's what you want to see from Nate McKinnon when he's flying around the ice and really elevating his game. Really impressive skating and offensive firepower from him throughout the playoffs so far. Mikko Rantanen, another name there. You got to keep an eye on him if you're Tampa Bay. He's got 5 goals, 12 assists. Really key on a lot of goals for the Avalanche. Really good setup guy. And then, of course, Gabriel Landeskog, another one you got to deal with. 8 goals, 9 assists. That's 17 points for him so far in the playoffs. Oh, and don't forget about Cale Makar, just, one of the best defensemen offensively and defensively in the league. He has really been impressive for the Avalanche. He disappeared a little bit in the second round, but man, he really came back to life in the conference finals and helped power them through. He had a goal and 4 assists, and he led the Avalanche so far in the playoffs with 22 points. That's 5 goals, 17 assists total through all of the Stanley Cup playoff games at this point. And you're going to hear over the next few days the debate between whether rest is good when a team was hot like Colorado is, but I'm of the opinion any rest is good rest in the playoffs, especially when you have guys banged up and injured, which all teams do, and we know the Colorado Avalanche did, especially like Darcy Kuemper and now Nazim Kadri got those extra days to try to maybe get into the series with his thumb injury. We'll see what happens. It's really hard to grip a hockey stick without a functioning thumb, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I wouldn't expect him at the beginning of the series. Maybe he pops in somewhere in the middle, but we'll see what plays out as we go. But again, the rest factor is definitely big. Tampa's coming off a couple of long series there. They're going to have to come in on Wednesday. They're going to get about 3 days rest, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then they're back at it Wednesday evening in Colorado. They got to fly out there for that first road game in the Stanley Cup Final. Colorado's going to be really gaining some energy from their crowd, so not only are they going to be rested up, they're going to have home ice advantage, and I really expect that to be a difference maker for them. They need to keep the offense going. Tampa's going to slow you down, they're going to clog the lanes, they're going to be physical with you, so you've got to maintain your discipline, and you got to keep doing what you're doing. Really effective against the Oilers, I thought, so they got to keep that steady play going. Take advantage of those power plays. That can't go dry or Tampa Bay is going to eat you alive. You've got to score on special teams, and you can't make stupid penalties. They will make you pay when they're on the power play as well. Another key, I think, is going to be Darcy Kuemper coming back from injury here and getting the starting nod probably. It's going to be interesting if he's shaky in the first couple of games. Do they maybe tap Francouz and go back to him and see what happens? I don't know. But the best case scenario for the Avalanche is a healthy Darcy Kuemper who's ready to go and digs in right away. You got to see Colorado and their offense clicking. You don't want to make it a defensive series against the Bolts because, again, they will win a defensive series 9 times out of 10 in my opinion. And I think that would be the last thing that the Colorado Avalanche want to do is kind of play into the hands of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the style they like to play. You got to take your game and put it out there on the ice. Don't play their tempo. Don't play their game. You got to play the Colorado Avalanche style. Keep the offense going. Be opportunistic. Try to create power plays by churning the legs, getting into the zone, skating fast, and making Tampa defend. The Lightning, like we've talked about, trying to win this 3rd Stanley Cup now in 3 years. That would just be incredible. I've never seen it done in my lifetime. I'm not that old, but it would be great to see it happen. I suppose if you're a Lightning fan, I'm going to be kind of rooting for the Colorado Avalanche. I'll put that out there. Just so there's no question. I do appreciate the hockey that Tampa Bay plays. They play a really disciplined style. I'm really impressed by them when I watch them. They do a lot of really cool things. The way they collapse in their own zone when they're playing defense. They clog lanes up, like I've said a few times now. And they just really layer their defense and they layer their attack as well. When they're coming down the ice, you never know who's going to be receiving the puck on a drop pass or a cross ice pass or sneaking down on the backside. You've just got so many options there in Tampa, and guys are so strong on their skates and with the puck down low in the zones. They're always going to the net. They know how to score at the right time, and they're very effective on their forecheck when they need to be. But they are facing a very different beast in Colorado, a totally different speed than New York or any of the teams they've faced prior to them. Maybe Toronto had that same type of speed at times, but I think the Western Conference, the teams coming that rose to the top there, Edmonton and Colorado, both high-flying acts, just massive amounts of skating speed and a lot to deal with in the transition game. So we'll see how Tampa does with Colorado's attack and their speed, especially those first couple of games in Colorado. It's going to be crazy. The environment is going to be electric. So Tampa's got to be ready to go. They got to weather the storm, and Vasilevsky knows how to do that. We'll see if he can continue to do that here in the Stanley Cup Final. We'll keep an eye on Brayden Point. We'll see if he can get into the series as well. So he's the injured forward for the Tampa Bay Lightning. We've talked about it a little bit. Just like Nazim Kadri's out, Brayden Point is going to be out for the Lightning, and it was rumored that he was going to get into the series late against the Rangers. It didn't end up happening, so I would expect to see him in this series for the Lightning at some point. Maybe game one. We'll have to see what the news is going forward here in the next couple of days. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Sasquatch NHL, I'll try to keep you guys updated as we head towards that first game in the Stanley Cup Final on Wednesday, June 15th, of course, so stay tuned. And I can't stress enough, Vasilevsky really is the story for Tampa Bay. He's been the machine that has won all of these series for them now, running 3 years in a row. He's got a .296 goals against average, a .919 save percentage. That's incredible in the playoffs. He's just been unbelievable to watch, just shut team after team down as they've just churned and moved forward. And again, they came back in that series against the Rangers. Rangers, I thought, had quite a few opportunities to really put them on the ropes and knock them out, but they didn't do it. Of course, that big chance in Game 5 by Ryan Strome, he just kind of whiffed on the puck. I thought that would have been a series changer. It didn't happen. And there was a couple other moments throughout the series that just felt like New York was not able to capitalize when they really needed to. So really impressive stuff from them. They've been able to lean on that experience like I've talked about, and they really were able to kind of snatch a victory away from the Rangers at critical times that turned the series and got them back in when they were down 2-0. Really impressive stuff. The Lightning being led by Nikita Kucherov. He's got 23 points in the playoffs on 7 goals and 16 assists. He's just been unbelievable. Right behind him, Andre Palat with 16 points. He's got a couple of game-winning goals in critical moments. Really impressive stuff from him. Steven Stamkos, their captain, leading the team in goals with 9. He has 6 assists as well for 15 points so far through the playoffs. Really impressive stuff from him. You can see why he's their captain. Just a consistent and dependable player. Always there for them when they need him. Really love watching Steven Stamkos. What he brings to the table, really impressive stuff. Don't forget about Victor Hedman. He's got 12 assists and 2 goals, 14 points overall. He's always in the mix, always making a difference for them as well in the playoffs. And of course, you've got Corey Perry, the agitator, the guy that likes to stir the drink. He's going to be causing trouble, but he's also a threat offensively. He's got 8 points with 5 goals and 3 assists in the playoffs this year. The names continue on and on for Tampa Bay. Pat Maroon looking for another Stanley Cup. He's just been on a roll, winning Stanley Cup after Stanley Cup. Really cool to see what he's been able to do in his late part of his career. We'll see what happens moving forward with him. Again, Brayden Point hoping to get into this series. We'll see what happens. I could just keep listing the names here. They are so deep. Another X-Factor player for the Bolts has been Mikhail Sergachev. He's had some great moments for them throughout the playoffs, and great defender as well. So keep an eye on these guys. Those are the names that keep coming up and bubbling to the top for the Bolts throughout these playoffs. In the last few rounds and also the last few years, they just keep finding ways to win, even with losing guys in the offseason here and there. They've still got their core. They've got amazing goaltending from Vasilevsky, and they look primed to three-peat for that Stanley Cup championship again. So if we look back a little bit at the season series between these two teams, they only play twice because they're in opposite conferences. Of course, the Avalanche won both of the matchups, so they were 2-0 coming in against the Lightning this year into the Stanley Cup Final. But playoffs, of course, and Stanley Cup Final, of course, are way different than regular season and what happened then. Darcy Kuemper did have pretty good success against the Lightning. He had a 2.40 goals against average and a .929 save percentage against them in the regular season. We'll see if that translates through. I never hang my hat on anything that happened in the regular season, but it's just something to, mark in your notebook as we move into this series. We'll see how things play out. In my mind, I'm seeing a really focused Nate McKinnon coming into this series. He kind of has that determined look in his eyes, that drive for a championship, and we're going to have to see maybe if the want factor is a little bit higher on the Colorado Avalanche side versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have done it 2 times now in a row. You got to wonder, maybe the desire is a little bit different between the mentality of the 2 teams, and that might impact how they are coached and some of the strategies going forward. I would expect Colorado to come out pretty fast and physical, and maybe Tampa Bay can kind of lean on their experience to weather those storms and get through those first couple of games, maybe steal one on the road. That's all you got to do as the road team coming into Colorado. Just steal one, and then you go home and you've got home ice advantage to try to three-peat as champions. So we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to this series. Again, guys, it's been a lot of fun covering the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is my first season of doing YouTube videos and live streaming, so I do appreciate the support and you guys coming back to the channel. So again, if you want to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button, I'm excited to do this again next year. I do focus on the Kraken mainly during the regular season. I didn't get to do a full season this year, but I'm planning on doing the full season next year. Going to do post-game rapid reactions. I do a morning cup of Kraken usually on the weekends, live streams, going to post regular videos. So I'm going to do my best to keep things new and interesting here at Sasquatch NHL, keep the update and content coming for you guys. Going to probably do another mid-series check-in here during the Stanley Cup Final, so if you want to come back, check in with me, let me know what you've seen so far in the series. That would be great. I do appreciate the feedback and the comments. Always trying to improve the channel, so at Sasquatch NHL over on Twitter and Sasquatch NHL here on YouTube. Again, I appreciate the support. You guys have a great night. We'll talk again on another update here real soon.